Yeah, I bought more books. Greetings, my name is Nina. Ich habe euch etwas mitgebracht, ein neues Video. Welcome back to the Metal Book Tavern. In case you didn't know, I have one policy regarding book hauls. I start filming a book haul video every from 9 to 12 books. In this video, I have 11 of them and I got 11 interesting books from various different genres. If you have seen my previous videos, you probably noticed that my books are sorted differently here. Yes, the books in English, they moved up there. And my first bookshelf is basically empty because, well, new books. Okay, without further ado, let's go to these books. So let's start with books I bought in Russian. The first book over here is Friedrich Hayek, The Road to Serfdom. I can describe this book as a non-fiction version of 1984, which was a warning about the dangers of totalitarian society. And this book deals with the same thing. The author influenced society with this book, and he really objected the total control of everything. And also this book is about how important are personal freedoms of citizens and the development of culture. I've never heard of the author until I entered the store and I saw this book and I was like, I want it. Next, I have The Plague by Albert Camus. It's kind of hard for me to pronounce this French name. In an unnamed town becomes a fever that starts to kill people in the town. The town elites close the town and everyone in the town finds themselves facing a dilemma, either to accept the plague or fight for life. I've heard about this book a year ago and I really wanted to buy it. I really wanted to read this. But something kept me from this book, probably some other books. And then a few weeks ago, I entered the bookstore. I had the choice between this book and the English version of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and I selected this one. I'm a little biased towards The Night Circus because it doesn't seem like my thing. I usually like to risk, but this time I decided not to risk. And instead I decided to pick up a book that is definitely for me. Also, The Plague was simply cheaper. So I went along with The Plague. And finally, the third and last book in Russian, I bought literally today on December 7, 2023. This is when I'm filming this video. It's The Will to Power by Friedrich Nietzsche. So I read The Antichrist this year. I liked it and then I decided I want to read more Nietzsche. And I bought this one. If you have watched my previous videos, you probably know by now that I have a philosophical side. So basically this book caused a lot of controversy. Yeah, Nietzsche loves to be controversial. According to Nietzsche, the will to power lies within all beings. Within every person lies this will of power, and this is the best thing they can do to achieve, to implement that will to power. However, in order to implement the will to power, one has to question the morality, culture, the religion, and everything, to reconsider things. So out of these three books, I really want to read The Will to Power, most of all. And also there's one thing I really don't like about Will of Power. So these two books are really nice to touch. They have white paper, very thick paper. It's very good. And this one, on the other hand, has a square ends and the newspaper paper. I don't like this, but I really wanted to read this book, so I didn't care. All right. Let's move on from philosophy to everything else. Okay, I simply wanted to randomly buy a book, really wanted. So I entered the bookstore and I saw this book. It deals with rock stars and I have already read it. And this is The Uncommon People, The Rise and Fall of the Rock Stars. Well, it has David Bowie on the cover. I'm going to read you the first two lines that really made me want to read this book. So, the age of the rock star, like the age of the cowboy, has passed. The idea of the rock star, like the idea of the cowboy, lives on. You know, these two lines made me realize one thing. Last year, I realized that YouTubers, a lot of YouTubers I watched, they were kind of like rock stars to me because they did these awesome things. They recorded videos, uploaded them, they went to various places, bought some cool things, and forward to this book made me realize that the idea of a rock star lives on, even if someone you admire is not a rock star. So in this book, David Hepford, he goes through the phenomenon of rock stars, starting with the 50s and ending with the 90s, with Nirvana, with Kurt Cobain. I think a majority of millennials probably wouldn't know who Buddy Holly, probably you wouldn't know them, but you definitely know who are Elvis Presley, Ozzy Osbourne, and Kurt Cobain. You definitely heard of these people. David Hepford analyzes a part of their biographies of the rock stars, what makes them unique, what did they do to change everything, and some rock stars he analyzes more than once. According to Hepford, rock music died with Kurt Cobain. And this is basically where the book stops. I like the book a lot. I will read it again sooner or later. It's definitely not my favorite book about rock music, but definitely readable material. Now, a few weeks ago, there was a book fair here, and there were lots of discounts on books. The book I'm about to show you, I did read in May. I borrowed the book from an acquaintance. Then I realized I wanted my own copy because I'd love to read it again. I'd love to have it in my collection. And once I saw the discounts, and also it was the cover that I really liked, I knew I needed the book, I needed to have it, and this is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yeah, a popular Booktok book that I actually loved. So when I was borrowing books from an acquaintance, I saw this book, but I did not intend to read this until I watched the video from a Book Leo where she recommended Daisy Jones and the Six. She explained what the book was about. It was about, you guessed it, rock stars, and I was like, I need this. Everybody knows Daisy Jones and the Six. Their sound defined an era. Their albums were on every turntable. They sold out arenas from coast to coast. Then, on the 12th of July 1979, Daisy Jones walked barefoot on the stage at the Whiskey, and it all came crashing down. Everyone was there. Everyone remembers it differently. Nobody knew why they split. Until now. So basically this book is sort of a biography. This book is literally an interview with band members. You have on the left the name of a band member and then the thing they say. I like Daisy Jones a lot and I like this cover very much. And I also heard that the band, this Daisy Jones and the Six, was sort of a based off Fleetwood Mac. I discovered Fleetwood Mac this year, and some of the songs made it to my all-time favorite songs playlist on Spotify. But Daisy Jones and the Six was not the only book I got at the book fair. I entered the book fair, I did not expect to see anything else, and then I saw this book. I heard about it. I thought it would be good to read this book. This book literally found me, and also when I saw that the price was very cheap, a lot of discounts, I knew this was my only chance. Not only because of the price, but also because the book wasn't anywhere. I needed to have this book. I need it. And this is Beyond the Wand, The Magic and Mayhem of Growing Up a Wizard by Tom Felton. Tom Felton, our beloved Draco Malfoy. So basically this is the first memoir or autobiography or something that has nothing to do with rock stars. This is an actor memoir. I will always be proud of the films that gave me so many opportunities. I am even prouder of the fans who keep the wizarding world's flame burning brighter than ever. Tom seems to be very fond of his time on the set of the Harry Potter films. It's obvious that the guy is very grateful for everything, and in this book he goes through the things that happened on the set of Harry Potter films and the struggles that came with his fame and so on. Prior to reading this book a few months ago, probably even a year ago, I saw the first few chapters translated into Russian. I read them, and one thing I liked about Tom Felton's writing is that he uses the Harry Potter references in this book very well. For example, he describes his real life family as his Muggle family, Or that I remember in the book there was this line, I wished I had Slytherin cunningness or something. I read the first few chapters in Russian, and I haven't read this book yet, and I believe it sounds different, the Slytherin cunningness or something like that. Speaking of the memoirs from the Harry Potter actors, I would love to read the Alan Rickman diaries. I think it was called True Madly Deeply or something. I keep forgetting the name. And some fans were outraged by the publication of his diaries. They were like, oh, they are profiting of his personal diaries after his death, blah, 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 blah. But the deal is that's not true, because Alan Rickman intended to publish those diaries, but unfortunately they were published posthumously. So if you have seen my last few videos, you probably have seen this book. I covered it because it was a spoiler to my book haul video, and finally this is a book haul video, and I can show you this book. This is a sci-fi book that I am reading slowly, and it's A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. I simply walked into a bookstore, saw this book, I read the annotation, and I was like, why not give this book a chance? This book was a recommendation from Marco Hietala from Nightwish. Hietala 10 years ago. Oh my goodness, it has been that long ago. So I caught this live stream. Well, it was recorded already. Marco talked about various things. I don't remember much from that live stream, but one thing I remembered very well is that he mentioned A Fire Upon the Deep. I didn't think much of the book, even though I saw it at the bookstore right away. I didn't buy it. And now, in 2023, I caught the book in the bookstore. And then I remembered Marco's recommendation, and I was like, let's give this book a chance. So basically, this book is about a family of scientists which is captured by an alien race with a harsh medieval culture. They are in harsh conditions. A rescue party is assembled to retrieve them, and a secret that may save the rest of the interstellar civilization. I read around 91 pages of this book, and this book has multiple storylines. One is from the perspective of the family of the scientists, sometimes from the adults and sometimes from the children, and the others is from the pilgrim. And the third one is about a scientist called Ravna, and this are called the human experiment. You know what? Sci-fi probably isn't my genre. It's very hard for me. I think that's because I didn't find the right books right away. Now I know which books to get, but I'm still interested in reading this one. I liked what I read so far. It's very interesting to read. And probably I am done for now buying the sci-fi books in English. Unless it's the Broken Earth trilogy, I'd love to read that one. I will never stop saying that probably no sci-fi book will ever top Ender's Game. I love Ender's Game. I will not miss the chance to say that it's the best sci-fi book I've ever read. So one day I was scrolling through Instagram. I followed Tbilisi Book Exchange. For those of you who live in Tbilisi, this is this place on Rustaveli Avenue where you can take some English books and exchange them. I saw this book. I wanted it for a long time already, and I knew I needed to have it, so I went and got it. And this book is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I've heard of this book from the book Leo. This is one of her all-time favorite books. I like this cover a lot. It's very beautiful. So basically this book revolves around podcasts. Okay, Leo did say in her video that this book is more aimed at teens, but that didn't stop me. I was interested and I was like, I want to read it all the same. Frances is a study machine with one goal. Then she meets Alec, and for the first time she isn't afraid to be herself. When time comes, Frances finds herself in front of a dilemma. To be what society expects her to be, or to be someone she wants to be. One thing that it's really sad about this book is that it's probably somebody drenched it, and the book is a little bit. The next book I simply saw at the bookstore. I liked the cover, then I read the annotation, and then I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And also the price was cheap, and so I went and bought it. and this is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And only after I bought this book I found out that this is a Booktok popular. But I didn't care, it was interesting enough for me to pick it up. So Avery has a plan: keep her head down, work hard for a better future. But things change when a billionaire dies and leaves everything to her. And Avery moves to a mansion where she uncovers some dark secrets, and of course there are also people who don't want her to have all the billions of dollars. She's involved in sort of a deadly game. So this isn't a standalone book, however I decided to read only the first one so far. Maybe if I like the book, I'd love to read the next installments. So it was Black Friday. I simply went on a website where they sold books in English, and then I saw that there were huge discounts, including on this book. Once I saw the price on this book that is a part of the series, I didn't care that its cover was different from the covers of other books. I didn't care. I simply wanted the book because I was tired of waiting for that book, and I went and bought it. And this is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is red Gryffindor edition with all the red pages. And now I have Deathly Hallows left to buy, and the series in English is complete. This is definitely the book I want to start reading next year. Probably you know the plot already. At Hogwarts there is this Triwizard tournament where only wizards aged 17 and above can participate, but somehow Harry ends up in that tournament and he's forced to participate and undergo 3 tasks. Yeah, definitely reading this book next year. And finally, the last book in this video. This is one of my all-time favorite books. This is one of my all-time favorite books in English. I originally read it in Russian. I knew I wanted to read the English version. This is The Book Thief by Marcos Zusak. So I have already read 118 pages, and there is more to read. I love The Book Thief so much. The Russian version of my book says that it's a book where you can live, or something like that. Also, after reading this book, I'm thinking of remaking my Why It's Worth Reading video, because I think I can offer much more. I don't know, maybe I should do that, but yeah, reading this book from start to finish in English offers a new perspective to me on The Book Thief, but I still love the book so much. It's still magnificent, very stellar. So basically this book's set in late 30s in Germany. So there's this girl named Liesl Memminger who is adopted by Hans and Rosa Hubermans, and Liesl discovers books, she finds an escape in them, and she starts stealing them. I can say that this is mostly an atmosphere. It's less plot driven, it's more character and atmosphere driven, and it's absolutely magnificent. Alright, that's all. These are all the new books in my collection. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What are books that you bought recently? Let me know down in the comments. See you next time. Goodbye.